Have you ever tried to impress a guy by telling him you know how to cook, but then realized you fucking don't know how to cook? Have no here. I'm here with an easy date night recipe that's the perfect meal à deux. That's French for all you stupid people out there. That will satisfy bottoms so they can satisfy their tops. Hi, I'm DJ Powers, and this is At Home with DJ Powers. And here to help me today is serial dater and reformed felon Paul. It was a misdemeanor, Miltonberger. Paul, say hello to the friends at home.
Howdy, y'all! Fresh out of the penitentiary! 2 shots of penicillin deep, y'all! I'm gonna manhandle your chicken! Get into that.
You're gonna choke the chicken.
Oh, that too. Let me put my phone on disturb real quick, y'all. That wasn't professional.
Welcome to episode 49 of Crips and Corks. I am DJ Powers here with my co-host,
Paul, as usual.
and we will not be sharing any recipes because neither Paul nor I know how to fucking cook.
Unfortunately not. And if you haven't seen At Home with Amy Sedaris, girl, I mean, there's some questionable moments for sure on that show.
2017 was a different time.
Yeah, it was a questionable show for sure. There are some very funny moments though. So if you have $20 extra lying around to give to YouTube to watch it, I'd highly maybe suggest it.
The night we watched that, I wrote this in my head and I've been saving it since.
That's really funny, actually. I wasn't expecting that. That was really good. I appreciated that.
I think that's going to have to be like a Patreon or YouTube like bonus, like me doing cooking recipes, but being a terrible person about it.
That was good. I liked that open.
Paul, how was your week?
My week was fine. My my mom got married.
Yes, she did.
And, not one of that person at that wedding asked me if I was seeing someone. They all just assumed that I'm still alone and single.
Which is terrible because you brought 4 dates with you.
Right. 4 people were with me, and not one person assumed that one of those people could have been my dating person. Like, what the fuck? What are we doing? Am I that far past the point that everyone just assumes, like, well, put him out to pasture. He's done for. That's it.
It's time to learn knitting and to adopt a cat, Paul. We're
right,
spinsters.
Girl, I gotta get real close with that AdamandEve.com.
They have a gay version. It's called AdamMail.com.
Well, either way, I gotta get real close with that, because apparently I'm not finding anyone. Everyone's lost hope.
And I only know that for research purposes.
Gosh.
Not from personal experience.
But the wedding was very nice.
Yes, it was.
And thank you for coming. Thank you
for
everyone
having
who
me.
came. It was very nice, very cute. I did get COVID from the wedding, so that sucks. So
I did not.
my God's playing favorites.
I'm just built different.
Apparently, God's playing favorites. And if you're wondering why my voice sounds weird for this episode and the next episode, that is why I got by the vid, guys. How was your week?
It was good. You left me alone at work for most of it.
Yeah, because, COVID.
Yeah, but thankfully you returned to me. Granted, it was only after I started threatening to kill hostages.
Yeah, you only had to kill about 5 before I started to feel bad.
Yeah, but you still caved before I got to the first one. No, that's a joke. I'm just glad that you're better and that
Thank you.
I have you to complain to at work again. Other than that, just work and research, and our Lockhouse 25 video went out last Sunday. It's been a full week since we officially shared with you guys that we are paranormal investigators.
Yeah, we're paranormal investigators now, and the evidence we got there was insane.
Yeah.
We can't talk about it too much because we talked about it for an hour and 45 minutes on the last episode, so we're going to spare y'all of that. But the episode, that shit was
amazing,
crazy.
and thank you to Lennon and Cam for having us along and for joining us on this. You definitely made it even better than it already was gonna be.
I know, it was crazy. Just the evidence we got is crazy, and I'm super excited for our next project, which will probably be coming out super soon.
Yeah. Yeah, since this is like second week in September, it's coming out because spooky season's right around the corner.
Ooh. I'm sure we have some big surprises for October.
Yes. Although for right now, it's still motherfucking hot.
Yes.
We're recording this Labor Day weekend, and I'm still in a tank top. It was 84 degrees at like 6 o'clock in the morning. All I have to say is, whose dick do I have to suck for some fall weather?
Right, I'm over this heat, girl. Especially like being sick and it's hot out. That is not the tea. Not the tea. But Paul's Pop Culture Corner. Let's talk about Addison Rae real quick in that Diet Pepsi song.
Okay.
It's so fucking good. Have you heard it?
Yeah.
It is so good. I'm here for it. Now, I'm not gonna lie. At first, I did write off Addison Rae as kind of being like one of those, okay, mid-level pop girlies, whatever. Like, kind of like the same as Madison Beer or Tate McRae.
Hey, Madison Beer is good.
But she's still mid-level pop girly. She's
up and coming.
Okay. Up and coming. I have no beef with Madison Beer. She's fine. She's cool. Mid-level pop girlies like Tate McRae, and I kind of wrote her off as that. But Addison Rae might be proving herself to the gay community. If she keeps doing things like this Diet Pepsi song, we're probably going to be here for it. Also, Miss Lana Del Rey has a new boyfriend. She is dating an alligator hunter from Louisiana. Like, straight up redneck alligator hunter.
You know, that really checks out.
Really? Because she dates the most random ass men. Like,
But it's part of, that's like so part of her vibe.
it is. Yes, it very much is. You're right. It's just like so out of left field that all of a sudden she's dating this like redneck, like crocodile hunter. Like,
It is very out of left field, but it somehow makes sense.
it fits her aesthetic. It very much does.
Like, I can just see her on a red carpet in like full old Hollywood glam, boho chic, like she does,
Yeah.
next to this guy who's like in a denim tuxedo.
Yeah, and that's very much what it's going to be. And I'm super excited to see that first picture. That's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
But next week we'll talk about Sabrina Carpenter.
Yes.
Do you have a
Hot guy of the month? And we are announcing it a little late into the month because we recorded last week's episode about Lockhouse months ago before we knew when it was going to come out, so we didn't include Hot Guy of the Month. And then instead of Uncorked, we did the investigation video, so none of that was included. So, new Hot Guy of the Month for September.
And I don't even know who this is yet.
No, you don't.
DJ kept it from me, so...
I actually picked it last night.
Oh, period.
Because I really wanted you to be surprised. Drum roll, please. The Hot Guy of the Month for September is Joe Locke.
Joe Locke?
Joe
okay.
Locke.
I'm here for this one. Okay.
Yes.
He is so cute.
Yes, that's
oh my
right.
God.
Joe Locke,
Yes.
star of Netflix's Heartstopper and Marvel and Disney Plus's Agatha All Along.
Yeah, that's a Marvel. You said Marvel.
Marvel and Disney.
Period.
It's Marvel Studios, but it's coming out on Disney Plus.
Mm-hmm. I can't wait to... I heard a little bit of his American accent for those who don't know at
Yeah,
home.
the new teaser just came out this week, and you got to hear him a little more.
Yeah, because for those who don't know at home, he's actually British, yeah?
I'm going to cover that today.
Oh, okay. Tell me all about it.
So, Joe Locke was born on September 24th, 2003, which is kind of disgusting that he was born
He's
in the
18,
2000s.
right?
No, he's 20.
Okay, period. Okay, that's fine. Okay.
He's 20.
Thank God. Jesus. Scared me for a second.
By the end of this month, he will turn 21, which
Okay.
means he can drink here in the States.
Iconic.
He is a Libra.
Okay. I love Libras, actually.
Yeah.
I vibe well with Libras.
And he was born on the Isle of Man. So he is Manx, not British. The Isle of Man is not technically part of the United Kingdom. It is a British Crown dependency.
Kind of like Puerto Rico.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
period. See geography. Get into it, y'all.
We actually discussed the Isle of Man in Jeff the Mongoose. That's where Jeff the Mongoose took place.
Oh, okay.
However, Joe Locke did not grow up in Dalby with Jeff the Mongoose. He actually grew up in the city of Douglas, which is the capital of the island.
You know, there's an Isle of Man gay joke there.
Somewhere, but we're not going to get into it today. But yeah, Joe, thank you so much for being the hot guy of September. We're so glad to go down this road with you, and just keep being you because you're pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah, keep paving the way for the gay kids. We stand.
Oh, I wish I had like Heartstopper when I was a young gay.
Oh, I would have been more insufferable, honestly.
Same, because you and I were both out in high school. Like, we were living their life. But could you imagine, like, we could have had boyfriends then.
Could you imagine having a boyfriend in high school? That would have been crazy.
I mean,
would have
I
been
did,
crazy.
but he went to a different school, so.
Yeah.
And I never told my family about him.
Girl, we all know my rant and my beef with the gay couple in my high school. We all remember that from a couple episodes ago.
On that note, let's drink, because we're godless whores on this podcast.
Welcome to the Godless Whore Podcast.
Today, from sleight of hand cellars, we're drinking The Conjure, a 2020 Columbia Valley Red Blend. The 2020 Conjure is a blend of 44% Cabernet Sauvignon, 39% Cabernet Franc, and 17% Merlot, all from our estate blocks around Washington State. True to the Conjure style, this wine is loaded with red and black fruits with aromas and flavors of Bing cherries and spicy plums, accentuated by notes of tobacco and tea leaves. The Cabernet Franc really takes on the lead role in this wine, adding a perfume and spice, while the Cabernet and Merlot provide the powerful mouthfeel and core of fruit. Aged for 11 months and 25% new French oak, the Conjure is a dynamite wine that will drink well over the next 12 to 15 years. As always, it's best enjoyed with friends. This simply magical wine was proudly conjured up by the winemaking team of Trey Bush, Jerry Solomon, and Keith Johnson.
Ooh, okay. Period. Now, this bottle looks so fucking cool.
Oh, yeah, let me...
This bottle, it's giving, like, tarot card a little bit, but it's also giving, like...
Very old-timey magician poster.
Yes, very that. It looks so freaking cool.
Okay, so as you all know, I hate going through the wine condom. I can't get the wine condom off. So.
But we're poking the condom today, y'all. My favorite activity.
Well, I screw it in. I have a joke for you.
Okay.
3 nuns are sitting around the convent. First nun says, "Sisters, you'll never believe what I found while I was cleaning Father's bedroom. I found a box of condoms." The second nun says, "Oh, that's nothing. I found them weeks ago and I poked holes in all of them." The third nun fainted.
Oh, gosh.
Okay.
She's pregnant.
Let's get a little more.
That was a very weak pop. 0 out of 0 pop.
Get some of this.
No quirk pop there. That's really unfortunate.
Try and get some of the wine condom out of here so I get a nice pour.
Right. Sometimes you gotta move the condom out of the way.
There's really something to be said for bareback.
Ooh.
We do not endorse that. We endorse safe sex on this podcast.
Yes.
And now ASMR pour.
Period. Thank you.
And let's do our visual pour.
Period.
Oh. Cheers.
Cheers.
Huh.
Oh, shit. Sorry.
Did that open your sinuses?
Oh, no. That is dry as a motherfucker.
It's not that dry.
Jesus. Maybe it's because I'm still a little, like, COVID, like, recovering. But Jesus fucking Christ.
No, do you know what you're getting?
Did they put fucking rubbing alcohol in that shit?
I think it's because you're still sick.
What?
That it tastes like rubbing alcohol and that's real dry. But I think you're picking up on the tobacco and tea leaves.
They put cigarettes in here?
Did you not hear me say that when I read the back of it?
No, Oh, God! Don't. Oh, 0 grapes. What the fuck?
Okay, drink
Jesus
your diet.
fucking
You can switch
Christ.
it out with your
We're
Diet
switching
Coke.
for a godly Diet Coke. The drink of the gods.
I'm actually gonna give it 4 grapes. I kind of enjoy it.
God, don't buy that. Okay, maybe buy that wine. Okay, if
Try it for yourself. Please
Okay.
comment below if Paul's wrong.
If Mr. Bush and Johnson want to Venmo me $30, I'll say you can buy the wine, okay? I'll take anything for $30.
All right, Paul. Let me tell you a story.
Okay.
Harry Houdini, the greatest magician of all time. His acts are legendary and still inspire awe and disbelief in people to this day over a century later. But did you know that's not all there is to this famed illusionist, whose feats include disappearing a full-grown elephant and escaping being buried alive? He also had a passion for finding the secrets of the true supernatural and went on a crusade to end the careers of charlatans and fake mediums. So, if there's something strange in your neighborhood, who you gonna call? Houdini. And if there's something strange and it don't look good, Houdini. He ain't afraid of no ghost. This is the story of Harry Houdini, the original Ghostbuster.
Oh my god, that's iconic. I've had a few Harry Houdinis to myself.
Oh my god.
I had to get them removed.
Oh Jesus.
But no, Houdini, I'm not too familiar. Like, everyone knows.
Yeah, everyone's
like,
heard of Houdini.
but I'm not too familiar with his paranormal work and, like,
Yeah.
debunking. And it is interesting. Like, you think someone who, like, because magic, it's all supposed to be an illusion and things like that. So you'd think someone whose, like, job was illusions, they would want to keep, like, things like psychics and things, the illusion of that alive as well, to kind of keep up the mystery and things. So I'm interested.
Yeah, so I'm going to cover that in this. Let's jump in with who Harry Houdini was.
Okay.
He was actually born Erich Weiss in Budapest, Hungary, in the Austro-Hungarian Empire in 1874. His father, Mayor Samuel Weiss, was an Orthodox Jewish rabbi, and his mother was the former Cecilia Steiner, who she was a homemaker. Now, Cecilia would be the absolute light of young Harry's life. She would be his best friend, his role model, his constant companion. He just loved his mother. He actually described himself in newspaper articles as, and I quote, a mama's boy. He used those words.
Honestly, same. Me too.
There's actually a picture of him with his mother and his wife, and he called them my 2 sweethearts.
Oh, that's actually really precious. That's sweet. We love a mama's boy.
He was one of 7 children that the Weisses would have. He was right in the middle. In 1878, he arrived in New York with his mother and 4 brothers, and they moved to Appleton, Wisconsin, where his father was rabbi of the Zion Reform Jewish congregation. In just 4 years later, in 1882, Rabbi Weiss became an American citizen and lost his job because he was not a very good rabbi.
Oh, his dad or Houdini?
His dad.
His dad wasn't.
He
a good
wasn't,
rabbi. Okay.
apparently, he was not very charismatic, and to be a preacher in any religion, you kind of have to have some charm and charisma.
Yeah, and after he messed up that 3rd circumcision,
Oh,
that brisk didn't go any very well, you know?
not the breast.
Did I say that right? Like the
Yeah.
tea? Brisk. Now when you're drinking that tea, now you know what you're going to think of.
So the family moved from Wisconsin to Milwaukee, or is Milwaukee in Wisconsin? Or is it in Minnesota?
Girl, you know I don't know about
They moved from Appleton to Milwaukee.
You know I don't know where I am
But
right
they
now.
soon fell into dire poverty because I don't think at this time being a rabbi from far Eastern Europe really prepared you to take on any other jobs.
Probably not.
So in 1887, Rabbi Weiss and Eric moved to a boarding house in New York City, and they would later be joined by the rest of the family once they found a permanent home in the city.
Okay.
Now, throughout this time, a young Eric would work a variety of odd jobs to help provide for his family. Remember, his father was not very successful, so him and his brothers really stepped up and work. This wasn't that abnormal in the late 1800s. In fact, it was very normal to send the children to work in a factory because they had nice, nimble little fingers to like reach in the machinery. And if one of them like got their arm ripped off, there were 7 other at home you could hire.
Right. Child slavery. Get into it.
No, they did get paid. They just got paid like pennies a day.
Child labor. You're right. I didn't mean... Okay, you're right. It is just child labor.
We have a child labor problem. We do not. We're the highest employer of children in the county. That's the problem. It's illegal.
What's that from?
Ghost on CBS.
Ghost on CBS. Okay, yes. I've seen a couple episodes.
So one of these odd jobs was his performance debut. He debuted as a trapeze performer at the age of 9, billing himself as Eric, Prince of the Air.
Oh, okay. Period. That's his drag name. Get
Pretty
into
much.
that.
So in 1891, Eric Weiss began his magic career as Harry Houdini.
Okay.
How do you get Harry Houdini out of Eric Weiss? I'm going to tell you. Harry is an anglicized form of his childhood nickname, Ari.
Oh, like Ari?
Yeah, so Eric was E-R-I-K.
Mm-hmm.
Ari, it's a Hungarian nickname for Eric, and it's E-H-R-I, Ari.
Okay, and it sounds like Harry. Okay.
Yes. And then Houdini, after his idol, the French magician Jean-Eugène Houdin, whose autobiography inspired him to pursue magic. And he mistakenly believed that in French, adding an I to the end meant like. So he meant to go for like Houdin.
Okay.
But actually, in his native Hungarian, an I at the end meant to belong to.
Oh, so like his like kid or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he started performing in tent acts and dime museums and sideshows, performing normal card tricks like pick a card, let me guess it, sort of things like that. Now, he was decent at it, but he wasn't exceptional at it. A lot of his contemporaries said that he lacked the grace and the smoothness to really pull off the sleight of hand that is required to do that kind of thing. So he started to do an experiment with escape apps, escaping from handcuffs, which earned him the nickname Harry Handcuff Houdini.
I bet that was popular with the ladies. They said, ooh.
Around this time, he began to perform with his younger brother, Theodore, also known as Dash, and they billed themselves as the Houdini Brothers.
Oh, okay. I didn't know there were 2.
The 2 performed at the 1893 World's Columbian Exposition, also known as the 1893 Chicago World's Fair, which also introduced Wrigley's Chewing Gum, Cracker Jack, Aunt Jemima's Pancake Mix, and I know it's not called that anymore, but that's what it was introduced as, the Ferris wheel, and the widespread use of electric lights.
That's crazy. That was a big year.
It
Okay.
was. Like, this was a turning point in America because that was also the event where they invented spray paint.
Ooh. Now they could do whippets at night.
So they performed there in Chicago, but by 1894 they were back in New York, where they met Wilhelmina Beatrice Bess Rayner, who was a singer in a Coney Island song and dance show called The Floral Sisters, who Dash began to date. However, Bess would fall in love with Harry, and the 2 would marry in June of that year. Bess would replace Dash in the act, which they now called the Houdini.
Damn! He said, yeah, I know you've been here since the beginning, but you're out. I have a woman.
Not only did I steal your girlfriend took your job.
That's fucked up. That's crazy about Houdini. There's no loyalty there.
I think they remained on good terms, though, because after Houdini died, he did leave all of his props and illusion stuff to his brother, who was a magician in his own right.
Wait, so Dash was his brother?
Yes.
So he stole his brother's girlfriend
Yes.
and then kicked his own brother out of a job?
It's not. We don't know if he kicked Dash out of the job or if Dash just said, "I'm gonna go out on my own now that you're married." But like I said, there doesn't seem to have been any ill will there.
That's crazy. I'm shook, girl.
But yeah, Bess now performed with Harry, oftentimes as his assistant.
Shit, that's crazy about him.
Now, up to this point, Harry has had a pretty lackluster career. Yes, he did the World's Fair, but there were hundreds of magicians there. He wasn't really exceptional. I mean, this is the era of the traveling circus. Like, you would have a circus come through every month, and there'd be a different magician.
Oh, okay,
So-
yes, that makes sense.
So it was just like, if you could get a job with a traveling show, it was awesome. Or if you could get a job at a fairground like Coney Island, awesome. But it wasn't like selling anything out. But his big break came in 1899 when he met manager Martin Beck, who told him to cut out the cards and to focus on his escape acts, and booked him on the vaudeville circuit.
The vaudeville circuit.
Yeah, you've heard of vaudeville, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, am I supposed to say what it is?
I just don't know if you really know what it is. That wasn't very convincing. I can tell you what it is if you don't know.
So, like, a vaudeville is like an actor, I think. They're like a comedian.
Yes.
They sell newspapers.
When you said comedian, so vaudeville was vaudeville was a form of theater / performance, and it was basically live variety shows where you would have comedy sketches, you would have magicians, you'd have singers and dancers, you'd have comedians. And this is how people were entertained before there was television and radio.
Okay. That makes sense. It's like your local open stage.
Exactly. Except you had to get booked for it. But you got paid.
Hey, at least you're getting paid. When I was doing open stages, I wasn't getting paid shit except for $3 in tips.
Now, within months, he was booked to the Orpheum Circuit, which was the largest... So, Orpheum was a company that owned a bunch of vaudeville theaters. So he got booked by this company to perform at all of their theaters, and it was the biggest in the country. So he became one of the top vaudeville performers within months because of his escape acts.
Oh, okay. Good for him. Rising to the top.
Yeah, just a year later, in 1900, he traveled to England where he did a show of escaping the handcuffs used by the London's prestigious Metropolitan Police at their headquarters at Scotland Yard, and he totally baffled the police. Like, at this time, the Metropolitan Police was like the best police force in the world because London was the biggest city in the world.
Okay, yeah.
And the fact that he was able to, like, get out of these handcuffs and the police were like, what the fuck did you do?
That's crazy.
So he would go on to continue traveling throughout Europe, where in each city he would challenge the police to shackle him and lock them in a jail cell for him to escape from. And he did it every time.
Good for him.
Actually, in Moscow, he challenged the police to lock him into a prison transport van, which was bound to go from Moscow to Siberia, and there were only 2 keys, one to lock him in Moscow, one to unlock it in Siberia. And if he did not escape, he would be stuck during the entire trip. He managed to escape, much to the consternation of the police, because, like, Siberia is where they sent their worst prisoners, and he escaped.
Okay, that's concerning. That's actually really crazy that he was able to do that.
I think he said that he, hid, some kind of blade, and he cut out the bottom of the van.
Well, bitch, what did they think when they opened up the van? Like, yeah, anyone can escape with a couple weapons. Like,
Yeah.
It's not a magic trick if you have weapons.
So around this time, Harry was being paid $300 a week, which is equivalent to $10,987 in 2023 money.
Okay, how much again? Sorry.
$10,987 a week.
Oh my god. Do you know what I would do with that money?
That's like more than we make in a year.
I would put an Olive Garden right near me if I had that much money. And an Arby's.
So with that newfound fame and fortune, he bought a house in New York for him and Bess, which he also invited members of his family to live in at various times throughout their lives. It was a big house, and him and Bess never had kids. He also bought a dress made for Queen Victoria and held a grand reception at which he presented his mother wearing the dress.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Period.
Which, I mean, that says something that he bought his poor Hungarian peasant mother a dress made for a queen.
Hey, every mom deserves that.
Every mom does deserve that. Like, Harry Houdini, you were the ultimate son.
Very that.
He was known for a number of tricks. He was buried alive. He made an elephant disappear. He was nailed into a crate, which was then tied with rope and dropped into New York's East River and managed to escape.
Oh, not the river. That's crazy. At this point, they're just trying to kill him and see a movie.
There was the Chinese water torture cell where he was shackled upside down in a cage which was lowered into a tank of water. And the cage meant he couldn't move. And he still managed to escape. And he performed that throughout his career.
That's crazy.
In addition to all of his performings, he went on tour yearly. And he also did various stunts for publicity. He also wrote books on how to do his stunts for other magicians. And he was president of the Society of American Magicians, also known as SAM.
Wait, known as who?
SAM. Society of American Magicians.
Okay, period.
SAM.
Get into Sam. I've been in a few Sams, and it's a good time, so I'd recommend it. Make sure you get your card on the way out, though. Sometimes he forgets.
Oh my god. When you said I've been in a few Sams before, I took that...
Oh, it was meant very sexually.
Oh, okay.
That was a very sexual joke, a very sexual manner.
But if you were to... But
that's the COVID talking.
If you were to ask Houdini, he would not call himself a magician. He would call himself an illusionist. He was very open that what he performed were illusions, acts of trickery and directing the eye to not notice the obvious. He wasn't doing anything supernatural or magical, and he would often debunk his own stunts and say, yeah, this looks amazing, but here's how I did it. Like the
van thing?
The Russian van thing. Yeah. He was like, I just cut a hole in the bottom and climbed out.
Right. And, like, I'm surprised the guards didn't say shit about that. Like, there's a hole in the bottom of the van, guys. Like...
Well, I mean, it's probably like a sealed box with like a cell, and he probably like cut open the hole and then put it back.
Oh.
So that they couldn't really see. And he was actually pretty pissed off by people who lied about alleged psychic gifts or claiming to be mediums. Very early on in his career, when he was just doing the card tricks, one of the circus owners that he worked for said that he would make a lot more money if he became a medium.
Oh, okay.
This is right on the tail of the first wave of spiritualism, where it was still pretty. No longer were people doing it so much in their homes for fun, but like circuses in town, let's go see the medium. And so he actually did this for a while where he claimed to be a medium, and he astounded people with knowing things that he couldn't possibly know. And when he quit doing it, he was very honest that when he would get into town, he would walk to the local cemetery, the local church, and he would walk around the cemetery looking at the graves to see common family names, were there any like people who died early, children who had died. He would go to the church and he would look through like the birth and death registers so that he would be able to be in there and be like, I'm getting a message from somebody named Miltonberger. Is there a Miltonberger here?
Right. Which that's actually pretty smart, like to do, to go to the local cemetery.
Yeah, and like he's in a strange city. Nobody knows him. And obviously he's probably like wearing a tuxedo and a top hat during his performance, but during the day he just looks like a normal guy visiting the cemetery.
Right.
So even if they noticed him, they didn't realize he was a stranger.
Right, he's just undercover. It's like us in the graveyard.
So, like I said, he stopped this very, very early on. He didn't like it. But despite the fact that he knew how to fake being a medium, he actually remained an open-minded skeptic, where he thought that a lot of people who claimed to be mediums were fakes, but he did believe that it was possible that there could be communication between the living and the dead. This was especially reinforced after his beloved mother Cecilia died in 1913 while he was on tour in Europe.
Oh, rest in peace.
He was so devastated that when he opened a telegram with the news, he fainted, and he wrote back home begging his family to not bury her until he got back, even though it would break Jewish law. Because Jewish law states that the deceased must be buried within 48 hours. It would take him 10 days to sail back from Germany.
Oh, okay. I see.
Immediately he began to visit psychics and mediums in an attempt to speak to his mother again. He was really distraught, not only that she died, but that he was away when she died. And each time it ended in failure. Either she didn't come through, or he very quickly figured out that this medium was a fake. And after each visit, he would go to his mother's grave and he would say, "I haven't found you yet."
Okay, this is kind of...
Isn't that heartbreaking? Like,
oh my God.
This is like, he was so close to his mother and his wife, and like his mother and wife got along too, and he called them his two sweethearts.
Yeah, I mean, that might be a little too close to his mom, but that's neither here nor
Well,
there.
it can be speculated that, like, being the middle child, he really strived to have his mother's love and attention. In seeing that his father was a failure, that's why he strove to be a success. So...
Okay.
Now, Houdini believed that the only way to find a way to communicate to the dead was through scientific study, and began to correspond with noted spiritualists of the age and believers. And this actually included him forming a friendship with Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the creator of Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, okay. They
Doyle...
were plowing.
Yeah, kind of. Now, Doyle was a contemporary of W.T. Stead, who was a noted... Sound familiar, right?
Yeah, I don't know where, though.
He was the noted newspaper editor, writer, activist, and spiritualist who wrote an entire book on the afterlife after dying on the Titanic through a medium.
That's how I know. I know too much about the Titanic because of you, bitch.
Take a shot every time I mention the Titanic in an episode. We're not liable for alcohol poisoning. Doyle was so fascinated by spiritualism that he actually killed off the character of Sherlock Holmes in 1893 to instead focus on studying it, and only brought Holmes back in 1901 to pay for his studies.
Okay, interesting.
He actually wrote to his mother that he was really fed up with Holmes, that he wanted to kill him off, and his to focus on spiritualism. His mother said, "You can't, you won't, you mustn't."
Oh, interesting.
Doyle's second wife, Jean, would actually become a self-proclaimed medium through the use of automatic writing under the guidance of their spiritual guide, Phineas.
Phineas, okay, like Ferb.
Exactly.
Phineas and Ferb. Get into that.
And throughout their friendship, Doyle came to believe that Harry had exceptional supernatural talents, which allowed him to do his tricks. Now, Harry was very adamant, Artie boy, no, let me tell you how I did this. And Doyle was like, "It's magic."
Gosh, and Doyle was probably like, "And for a small fee of $3.99 a month, I can teach you how to unlock that magic even further."
God.
That's how it'd really be.
And I'll bring this up later. Doyle, so unlike some spiritualists, as soon as Doyle wasn't able to explain something, he went ghosts.
He's one of those. Okay,
yeah.
That makes sense.
It would be like, "Oh, there's a knocking sound in your bedroom." No one else is here? Must be a ghost, even though you have somebody hiding in your closet.
Right. Creepy uncle, whoever watches you sleep.
Exactly.
It's a ghost.
Now, in 1914, the First World War began and continued into November 1918, killing 16.5 million soldiers and civilians. This was quickly followed by the Spanish flu pandemic of 1918, which killed a further 50 million people. All of this death led to the second wave of spiritualism as survivors flocked to mediums for a chance to speak to their dead loved ones one more time.
Okay, that makes sense.
And many people, seeing the number of people willing to pay for a chance to pay to their dead loved people, suddenly developed psychic abilities.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. If I was live back in the day and I needed a few bucks, maybe. Maybe. I might, honestly.
So, as the number of these psychics charging exorbitant fees increased in the early 1920s, Harry began to get really angry with the number of frauds that he noticed who were doing tricks that he had either done before or tricks that he could very easily reproduce. Now, things came to a head for Houdini in 1922 at a hotel in Atlantic City, New Jersey.
Okay.
He was staying there him and his wife were staying there with the Doyles. They were there for a convention of Sam, at which Harry, as president, invited Doyle to speak during their convention. And obviously, because they were both interested in spiritualism, the topic came up. And Doyle suggested to Houdini, why don't you come up to my suite for a private seance with my wife, and let's see what happens. So that night, Harry went to the Doyle suite, and they sat down. And Jean went into a trance, and she began to shake and convulse before she rapidly began to write and fill 15 pages of paper with a message from Harry's beloved mother.
That's crazy, but also could be very manipulative.
At the conclusion of the seance, Harry stood and fled from the room, and the Doyles believed that he was overcome with joy at finally getting to connect with his beloved mother after 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
In reality, Harry was furious because from the get-go he realized this was a fraud.
Ooh, girl.
And let me tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
The message began with Jean drawing a Christian cross. Harry's mother was a devout Jewish woman. Why would she draw a Christian cross?
Very that part.
Second of all, the message was written entirely in English when Cecilia did not speak English very well, instead speaking German and Yiddish.
Yiddish? That's crazy. If you're gonna do something, do your research, Jesus.
Third of all, this seance occurred on Cecilia's birthday, and Harry said, ain't no way my mother would talk to me on her birthday without saying it's my birthday.
Period. Girl.
And to add insult to injury, it came out that while Harry and Doyle were talking and discussing and setting up the seance, Jean and Bess were having a conversation in which the topic of Harry's love for his mother came up.
Oh.
So, like, it wasn't like Jean said, I'm having a seance, like, tell me who I should connect with. But, like, Bess was just like, yeah, Harry was so connected with his mother, and he's still really devastated that she died and that he wasn't around. And Bess went, ding, 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 I know who I'm going to try to contact.
That's crazy. People are crazy.
One article did mention that, so the Doyles quickly came to rely on Phineas for everything from when to move to when to take trips.
Mm-hmm.
And the article said, it's very funny because Phineas always aligned himself with what Jean wanted.
I wonder fucking why.
So, and to make matters even worse, Doyle published a newspaper article about the seance saying that he proved to Harry Houdini that ghosts were real, that psychic communication was real, and that his mother came through, and described in detail what was said during the seance. Harry publicly refuted it, calling it all lies, and their friendship effectively ended and they became bitter enemies. With Doyle actually saying that Houdini was extremely dangerous to the furtherance of spiritualism and the study of psychic communication.
Girl, it's like the opposite of enemies to lovers.
Yeah, right? So, this caused Harry to believe that all, if not, or most, if not all mediums were frauds out to scam the grieving to make $1, and he was going to stop it.
Go forward.
He began to assemble an army of investigators who would dub his Secret Service or his spook spies to aid him in finding and debunking fraudulent mediums. He would send a few to a city before he would arrive on tour, and they would go to local mediums for sessions claiming to be widows or looking for dead children or parents or brothers or sisters. Did I mention that his spook spies were mostly women? He was like a notable employer of women in a time when women were encouraged not to be employed.
Yes, women's rights. Get into that. That's iconic. We stand him for that.
Now, his spies would make detailed notes of the sessions, which they would then give to Harry when he arrived. So they'd like go into a session and it'd be like, oh, my beloved husband died and I want to see if I can get into contact with him. It's like, yes, he's coming in. Is his name Gerald? Yes, it is Gerald. He's with your grandmother. Her name is Rose. Yes, that's right. Meanwhile, you've never been married. You don't know Gerald, and your grandmother's still alive. And even if she was dead, her name's not Rose.
Damn, it's kind of crazy. It's like ballsy for the psychics to guess random shit like that, though. Like,
well, even to this day, a lot of psychics, like even true mediums, sometimes if they can't connect, they'll use their empathy to sort of tune into what the other person wants to hear.
Interesting.
So like even like real psychics or mediums are able to like tune into what you want if they're unable to connect to the other side.
Okay. Interesting.
So Harry would then take these notes and memorize them. And he would take to the stage for his act. And at the end, he would perform. So basically, he'd perform a few stunts and tricks of his own. And then he would name the fraudulent mediums, describe their tricks, do it himself, and describe how he did it.
Damn, he was calling bitches out.
On one of these occasions, the fraudulent medium himself was in the audience when Harry named him.
Girl.
And he had to flee the theater for his own safety. He was being booed so badly.
That's crazy.
Like a riot nearly broke out and he was nearly beat up by the audience.
That's crazy. Like, I can't even imagine.
Now, Harry was chiefly aided in this crusade by a woman named Rose Mackenberg. She actually started out as a financial investigator who was investigating the claims of a banker who stated that a medium gave him financial advice, and he did investments based on that advice, and then he lost all of his money.
Oh.
Now, because he was working as a medium buster and was very well advertised in the newspapers at this time, she wrote to him and she said, I know you do this. Can you explain to me some of the tricks so that I can help win this case for my client? And Harry did, and he was so impressed by her investigative skills and her tactics that he hired her to be his chief investigator and principal assistant in the Spook Spies.
Did they make a movie about this?
Not that I've seen. I do know that she's been covered in a couple documentaries.
This sounds familiar. That's interesting.
So, as her notability as assistant to Houdini became known, she began to adopt elaborate disguises, sometimes wearing elaborate wigs, or wearing a hearing aid that she didn't need, or glasses that she didn't need, outdated clothing, or stuffing her underwear to look bigger than she was.
Me too.
And she would go and she'd make these sessions, or appointments for these sessions, and she would sign in using false names, often based on puns. My favorite was the use of the name Frances Rod, and she would sign in using as F. Rod. Fraud.
Oh my god, F-Rod.
And
That's
it was,
funny.
and she spelled it F for Francis, Rod, R-A-U-D, which is how you spell fraud.
That's crazy.
And nobody caught on.
How would you not fucking catch on?
She even managed to infiltrate a number of spiritualist schools, camps, and seminars, and it was awarded so many bogus degrees, certificates, awards, and even ordinations within the spiritualist church that the Spook Spies nicknamed her the Rev, short for Reverend.
That's crazy. Bitch.
And she would become instrumental in one of the biggest media sensations of Houdini's crusade. In 1925, House Resolution 8989 was introduced in Congress to outlaw fortune-telling in Washington, D.C. at Harry's urging.
Bitch, for what? Let people, it's just a fun pastime. If it's not hurting anyone,
Well, I think in Pennsylvania, they still do have an anti-fortune-telling law on the books.
They do, yeah. I saw that on TikTok the other day. I was like, I didn't know tarot was illegal here. Holy shit.
Oh.
Don't call the cops.
I've been to a number of tarot readers in the state.
Same.
Was I aiding and abetting?
We do that,
Well, I think it's if you charge money for it.
Oh, it's like prostitution.
Yeah. So Harry was also going to be the star witness of the hearings. Because, before laws, they have hearings on what would the law entail, how would it affect people. So prior to Harry's testimony, Rose did what she always did when Harry was going to go into town and defraud some mediums. She began visiting all the local fortune tellers. And she made the acquaintance of a medium named Jane Coates.
Was she actually a large?
It took me a second. That reminds me. Have you ever heard the one about the little person medium who escaped from jail? Is the case of the small medium at large.
I did. I've heard that one before.
So Jane was actually going to testify against the bill passing because this was her livelihood. And during the session with Rose, who was going by F. Rod, she bragged that the bill would never ever pass because 4 of the senators on the committee were her clients, and that she was invited to seances at the White House for President Calvin Coolidge and his family.
Sorry, I was thinking about John Locke TikToks I was gonna do.
You mean Joe Locke?
Yeah, same thing. It's fine. Joe Locke. My bad, Joe.
So, at the committee hearing, Rose and Harry both testified that 4 of the senators there and President Coolidge were all clients of mediums within the district. And a riot broke out in there. Senators were you bastard, I can't believe you did this. And other ones are no, it's lies.
Oh my gosh.
Coolidge never publicly acknowledged the claims, but he had aides and friends go out and say it's not true. Calvin Coolidge is actually a really level-headed guy. And the public outcry was so bad that Harry Houdini actually had to issue a public apology to the president for basically outing him.
Oh.
Because Coolidge's son, Calvin Jr., actually died while he was in the White House. So if he was doing it, he wasn't doing it for help on making presidential decisions. It was to talk to his dead son who died suddenly.
Oh, that's sad though. Let him talk to his dead son.
But it was just it was one of those things where he said it and the president does it too. Oh shit, he has a dead kid.
Yeah.
So ultimately the bill did not pass, and fortune telling remains legal in DC to this day, I believe.
Illegal or legal?
Legal.
Legal. Period. Get into that.
Rose would go on to debunk over 1,000 mediums in her career and serve as an expert witness on fraudulent mediums in many legal cases before retiring. For the rest of her life, she would sleep in well-lit rooms because she spent so much time in seances she, quote, got tired of being in dark rooms.
Honestly,
unquote.
same. Spent a lot of weekends in dark rooms.
Now, perhaps the most famous of these so-called memes that Houdini took down was Mina Marjorie Crandon.
Okay.
Mina Crandon was a Boston socialite and the wife of a successful surgeon. She began practicing as a medium to distract her older husband from his morbid obsession with death.
Oh, interesting.
Soon, she was offering readings as Marjorie.
Okay, that's fierce. Get into Marjorie.
With the help of her spirit guide, her dead brother, Walter.
Okay, that's not as fierce.
Well, no, she actually had a dead brother named Walter.
Yeah, but it's still not as fierce as Marjorie.
And she did this so that as Mrs. Croydon or Crandon, she could be a high society hostess and attend parties. But as Marjorie, she was like a famed psychic.
That was her drag character.
Yeah, very much so. And like it was very drag because she like took on a whole new persona. During these seances, her voice would get deep and guttural like a man, and she would swear profusely, which Mina did not do, but Walter was said to have.
It only got weird when her husband asked her to do that in bed.
She would also produce ectoplasm, ring bells throughout the room, move things, and even managed to produce a ghostly hand.
Oh. Okay. You know,
We've got a
few ghostly hands.
I'm going to put a picture of the ghostly hand in the photo dump. I wish I had a picture of it right now to show you because it's wild.
Girl, we know what that ectoplasm was.
Her clientele included Boston High Society, Ivy League elite, and prayers she had written were even read daily by the U.S. Army.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. The U.S. Army?
Yeah, so she wrote prayers and they were put into U.S. Army prayer books.
That's really surprising to me because usually I would imagine the Army would be so aggressively Christian that it would be crazy.
The thing about spiritualism is a lot of spiritualists were Christians. Spiritualism and Christianity don't have to be exclusive.
Okay.
Spiritualism is just the belief that contact between the dimensions of living and death can be bridged.
Okay, that makes sense. I get you now. That makes sense.
So you could be Jewish or Muslim or Hindu and be a spiritualist. Or you could just be a spiritualist.
Period. Okay, that makes sense.
In June 1924, her name was entered into a contest offered by the magazine Scientific American to demonstrate telekinesis under scientific controls. So basically, if she could prove in a scientific setting that she could perform like telekinesis and other psychic phenomena, she would get like $10,000.
Yeah.
In late July, the judging committee, which included Harry Houdini, arrived at her home for a seance to see her abilities, as she had Walter ring a bell in the room. The following day, Houdini debunked it. So what he did was, all day beforehand, he took a rubber band and he stuck it right under his knee to restrict the blood flow in his leg. And then during the seance, so that makes your leg super sensitive.
Okay.
And so right before the seance started, he lifted his pant leg up above his knee. And during the seance, he felt her foot brush against his leg, reaching for a bell underneath the table, which she then rang using her foot.
Clocked.
Now, another one of the judges, what's his name? Malcolm Bird, said, no, she's the real deal. So, the next month, Houdini arrived to conduct another test. This time, he placed her into a large box where only she could move her head and her arms, and she still managed to make a bell ring. On another time, so he did it again, and this time, him and another guy held her arms, and she still managed to make a bell ring. So then, he locked her in a box with her legs, like a board over her legs so she couldn't move her legs, and they covered up the armholes and they locked the box so that even though she could move her arms, you could hear her pounding on the box if that was what was it.
Mm-hmm.
And she did manage to make a bell ring, but when the lights turned on, they realized the top of the cabinet had been forced open, and she claimed Walter had done that.
Okay, girl.
So this started a war between them where she started ramping up her powers and he started ramping up the tests. Mm-hmm. And it got to the point where Houdini was so hell-bent on discrediting her that he actually started, tampering with the tests.
Mm-hmm.
Such as in one, when she was going to be locked in the box, he had his assistant throw a roller in there, which she could use to pry the box open.
Mm-hmm.
And when he opened and said, "Look, a ruler, she used this," she said, "This was in here. This was planted."
Why would he put that ruler in there? That doesn't make a bit of sense.
Because he wanted to debunk her.
Oh, so he was faking it. He was going to fake debunk her.
Yeah.
Well, that takes all of his credibility out
Exactly,
of it.
but that's how hell-bent he was.
That's crazy about him.
Now, eventually, Marjorie would be debunked.
Mm-hmm.
Remember Malcolm Bird?
Yeah.
He actually revealed that he aided her in creating a lot of the phenomena within her seances. And he did it because he wanted to pursue a sexual relationship with her, and so he did it in return for sexual favors. Remember when I said this was very much Marjorie's drag? So she had a little group of assistants whom she was having affairs with, or who she was promising to have affairs with if they would help her, and then she just never would.
Isn't she married?
Yeah.
That's crazy about her, girl. Was the ghost shit really that serious?
And to describe how far she went, she would often perform her seances naked and throw herself into the laps of the men sitting on either side of her to sort of distract them from what she was doing.
Oh my god. That's wild about her. Someone needs to check on good old Marjorie.
Oh, and remember the ghost hand?
Yeah.
So some people said they found out that it was actually a carved up animal liver.
Oh.
And many people at the time said that her husband had surgically altered her genitalia for her to be able to push it out. That rumor went around so much that she actually submitted herself to a public test to prove that her genitalia was unaltered.
That's insane. Can you imagine?
Despite all of this, she continued to perform as Marjorie until she died.
You can't keep a showgirl down, and I appreciate that. She said, "I'm going to keep on trucking. You can't keep a showgirl down."
Now, Houdini continued his pursuit of fraudulent mediums, exposing them as shows, which he billed as 3 shows in run. Magic, escapes, fraud mediums exposed.
Okay, period.
He was on this 3 show in 1 tour in Montreal. He was performing at the Princess Theatre on the night of October 22nd, 1926. He was in his dressing room when he was visited by an amateur boxer named Jocelyn Gordon Whitehead. And this was a man, even though he had the name Jocelyn.
Okay.
Whitehead asked Houdini, who was reclining on a sofa, if it was true that punches to the stomach didn't hurt him.
Mm-hmm.
Houdini had done this trick a number of times in his career, and basically what he would do is he would tighten his abdomen so that when he punched, his abdominal muscles would absorb the impact and he wouldn't actually feel the pain within his organs.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Houdini was reading through letters at the time and only half listening and said something like, "Yeah, that's right."
Mm-hmm.
And Whitehead then proceeded to punch Houdini hard in the stomach before Houdini stopped him and said, "I didn't properly prepare myself."
Okay.
Despite the pain he was in, Houdini continued to perform, and he continued to perform for 2 days before passing out at a Detroit show.
He caught him lacking, slack.
He was rushed to the hospital, found to have a temperature of 104 degrees, and he was advised to have immediate surgery, which he said no, he wanted to try and continue to do the next night's show. He was unable to do the shows, And on October 31st, 1926, Harry Houdini died as the result of peritonitis as a result of untreated appendicitis after refusing the immediate surgery that he needed.
That's crazy. Rest in peace. But like I said, you can't keep a showgirl down.
No,
Yeah,
the show must go on.
The show must go on,
And you
kids.
know, Harry Houdini embodies that because this is not the end of the story.
Oh, God. Okay, what's going on?
So despite his crusade against fraudulent mediums, he still remained open-minded to the possibility of communication between the living and the dead.
Mm-hmm.
Before he died, he gave 24 unique codes to 24 friends and family and said, "Keep going to seances, and if I can come through, this is what I'll say."
Okay, there you go. There you go.
The year after his death, Bess began holding yearly seances on Halloween, the day that he died, in an effort to contact her beloved Harry. In 1929, Bess was approached by a young medium named Arthur Ford who claimed he was in contact with Houdini.
Mm-hmm.
That year on Halloween, they had the seance, and this is the phrase that came through. "Rosabelle, answer, tell, pray. Answer, look, tell. Answer, answer, tell." Bess was shocked.
Mm-hmm.
And she took off her wedding ring and revealed the inscription on side, which was the word Rosabelle, which was a song that she sang when she first met Harry.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of the phrase was code, which spelt out the word believe. That was the code that Harry gave her.
Mm-hmm.
Bess was astounded, and she published that Ford was the man who contacted Harry Houdini, and Ford said that him and Harry Houdini proved there was communication between the living and the dead. Until a few weeks later, the media reported that Bess herself had inadvertently revealed the code to a reporter a year before.
Oh, that'll do it, girl.
And Bess retracted her endorsement of Ford.
She said redacted.
Despite this, Bess continued to hold Halloween seances to try and contact her husband. In 1936, she hosted a grand one attended by members of the press at the Knickerbocker Hotel in Hollywood. No contact was made, but a huge lightning and hailstorm did break out over the hotel and only over the hotel after the seance was ended.
Yo, I bet that Knickerbocker Hotel goes crazy.
I'm going to have to look into that one.
I bet that shit goes wild. That's a crazy name.
But after it was done, she walked over to a candle which was next to a picture of Harry, and she put out the candle and she announced to the press that this would be her last seance. When asked why, she said, 10 years is long enough to wait for any man.
Wait, so she's done the seances and she's done waiting.
Yeah.
So she's going to kill herself.
No, she actually lived for like 3, 4, or 5 more years.
Okay. Period.
But she said she wasn't going to do any more seances.
Okay.
But she did ask William Gibson, who was a friend and colleague of Harry's, to continue the seance, which he did until his death, at which point he passed along to Dorothy Dietrich, who's another magician, who continues to hold the Halloween seances to Houdini to this very day.
I wonder if they use Ouija boards.
I'm not sure what they do.
That's interesting.
Maybe we can try and get tickets.
I'd be interested.
It's actually held in Scranton, PA.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a Harry Houdini museum in Scranton, and that's where she holds it every year.
Okay, that would actually be pretty interesting to go see. I want to see if they're using the Ouija boards or not, or if they're doing that, like, old-timey seance.
I think it's probably like the... All right.
If you're here, make a sign.
I should have done it with my knee under the table.
Right.
So, Paul, I got one question for you.
I'm ready.
Unless you have anything to say on Harry Houdini.
I do have one thing I want to call back to real quick. It's not exactly about Houdini, but I kind of do see why they might want to make fortune telling illegal in Washington, D.C. So, like, people don't go in there claiming to be fortune tellers, trying to sway the decisions of politics and lawmakers.
Yes, and that was very much what Harry was trying to say. He was like, well, these 4 senators are going for legislative advice from psychics.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, and you can't be doing all that,
And
girl.
that's why he issued the apology to Coolidge, because Coolidge wasn't doing it for advice on governing. He was doing it to contact his dead son.
Exactly, because that would be so easy to, like, sway someone in that way.
Yeah, oh my god, it's like, I've been just like, in a kind of like, she's told me to do something and I've done it.
Right, exactly. So I get that part of it. And the last thing, not last thing, but another thing I want to say is, I'd love to meet a Miss F. Rod. Ooh,
Well,
meet a Miss Rod.
well, it's funny you should say that, because
Miss
I got a
Rod?
question for you.
Yeah.
Smash or pass? Rose F. Rod Mackenberg herself.
Oh my gosh, I'm blushing. I think I'm gonna have to smash Miss Rod. I love a good
What
Rod.
a badass.
Yes, get into her. We love Miss
Oh, wait,
F.
I forgot
Rod.
this because I didn't write in my notes. I meant to add it. So Houdini was receiving so many threats from spiritualists.
Mm-hmm.
And I could just imagine just like, we believe in ghosts and we're going to make you one. I made that up. I'm not sure if that's what was said, but I can just imagine it. But
Honestly.
he carried around a pistol with him, and he actually told Rose, like, I really think you should too. And she said, no, I ain't afraid of no spiritualists.
Oh my god. The way I would have been one of those spiritualists, though, is crazy. The way that would have been me.
Well, no, I actually really admire what he was doing, because, like, I believe that, like, we can contact. I mean, we kind of proved it with our last investigation.
Mm-hmm.
And it really pisses me off, like, these fraudulent mediums.
I completely agree. I want something to be real, and if you're not real, fuck off. Like, don't pretend to be real. Like,
Yeah, like, I went to a medium once, and I said, and I liked a guy at the time, and I was like, is there anything in my romantic life coming? She said, yes, I see a man coming to you. He's a brunette with dark, and I must have made a face, blue eyes. And I was like, okay, like, can you give me a hint who it is? And she was like, his name is Jonathan. And I was like, David. Paul.
She's just spelling every white guy's name she can think of.
And, like, I was going there, she's, like, going through these names, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, she's going through all the men my age who I'm Facebook friends with.
Okay, that'd be spooky.
I was just like, what the fuck? She was like, Jonathan. And I was like, huh.
Not them Facebook stalking you before the show.
And, like, it's like, what the fuck?
Not the show, the reading, whatever. No, I appreciate what Houdini was doing, though. Like, I appreciate that he, like, believed, but he wanted, like... I mean, we talked about it a ton in last week's episode, where you have to approach it, like, with the logic, scientific mind first before you can, like, claim something as real or supernatural.
And that's the problem with Sir Conan Arthur Doyle. Eventually, in the far-off future, I'm going to do a further deep dive in, him and his belief in spirituality, because that's just a clusterfuck.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like I said, if he saw it, he believed it. Which is funny, because at that spirituality contest, or convention where he talked at before this seance, he showed a clip of a movie that was being made of his book, The Lost World, which involved dinosaurs.
Mm-hmm.
Which use, like, stop motion puppets of dinosaurs, and this has never been done. And so the audience was like, oh my god, dinosaurs exist! Because, like, back then you didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, Houdini was like, this motherfucker's trolling everyone, and, like, meanwhile he's out there, ghosts are real, because, like, I can't find no reason why they don't.
That's crazy.
But no, like, he got duped another times, and he, like, got trolled because he was like, no, this is a ghost. And then, like, the person was like, nah, it's a hoax. And he was like, that's not a hoax. So we'll, like, get into this stories at some point in the future when I run out of things to do.
Period.
Anything else you want to talk about?
No, I enjoyed learning more about Houdini. I didn't know all of that background information on him, so that was really interesting to know more about Houdini. Yeah. No, I like this story. Well, not story, but... Well, I guess it was a story. I don't know, whatever you'd call it.
I'm very proud of myself because my notes were originally a lot longer because I covered his magic career, and then I was like, none of these tricks really matter, and I cut them all out.
Period.
I was like, nobody cares, like, about these. Like, he wouldn't care either. Like, this is a supernatural podcast. None of this is supernatural.
Right. Yeah. And, the people at home, you only have to put up with my COVID brain for one more episode. So just stick with me. One more episode, guys.
So is that all she wrote?
That's all I have. Do you have anything to add?
Nope, that's all she wrote.
All right, take her away.
So, guys, if you would like to talk to us or have comments, please comment below. Text us if you're listening to us audibly. If you'd like to text us and you're watching us on YouTube, please go on to Spotify or Apple Podcasts or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Go into the description of the episode below and just hit the link that says text us. We can read it. We just can't respond. If you would like to connect with us through social media, you can do so by following and DMing us on Facebook or Twitter at Crips and Corks, on Instagram and TikToks at Crips and Corks Pod. You can also connect with us with your thoughts, or if you have personal stories or story suggestions, at our email, cripsandcorks@gmail.com. As always, guys, we would love to hear your personal stories, but only send them via email so we have them all in one place. Paul, where can they find you?
You can find me at my personal Instagram and TikTok at Paulember, Paulember. And as usual, it's not delivery. It's DiGiorno.
And if you'd like to contact me, sorry, that one's a little spicy. If you'd like to contact me, you can do so by following me at The Real Deej Powers on both Instagram and TikTok. And if you'd like to write me a love letter, you can address it to the Knickerbocker Hotel in Hollywood, if it's still standing. Period. If not, you can address it to the Harry Houdini Museum in Scranton, Pennsylvania. And I think that's all it for this time. So remember, beware of fraudulent mediums. And remember to keep your crips tight.
And your corks loose. Bye.